like, screen touch, you know? Someday I'm gonna throw stories about it. I just did, you know? But so, you know, judging, if you have some questions, please, my email is TritonGeorge, TRITON @AOL.com. Send me an email, send me an image of a work, a good image of your work. And I'll share with you maybe why I didn't choose your piece for a show, or if you're considering a show and you can only choose 2 out of 4, or something like that, where you have 6 pieces, and you can only choose a couple. Send them to me. I'll be happy to share with you which ones I would choose and why. It's still your call, and you don't know what another judge would say. What would you like to do? Run another time? Okay, so artists are going to bring up 2 pieces, and I'm going to share with each one which one I would choose and why. Okay, who wants to be first?
I want to.
Okay. I'm going to share with you exactly what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing as a judge. I started doing this years ago. I feel very comfortable.
Okay, why don't you go stand there for me?
Oh, should I?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would that be?
Yeah, a little closer so that I can get both of you in the frame.
Okay.
Okay, now that frame is looking good.
This would be a tough one. This would be a tough choice because they're both really well done. The lion, you know, I was looking at both of these earlier. Mood, atmosphere, lighting, a very strong composition, you know, overall design. I think you're doing all the right things. And so I'm trying to read into kind of mood, the atmosphere, a sense of feeling. And I see, okay, if I had to choose between 2, it would be really tight. Compositionally, overall design wise, color harmonies, temperature colors, foreground, midground, background, but just that little something more, I probably would need for this one. This one has some extraordinary elements to it, especially, I mean, the lighting and the texture on the head of the lion, to me, is so well done. And the foreground, you know, you've got the reeds and then some of that kind of landscaping going into a soft focus. I understand what you're trying to do there. There's some really strong elements here that may be even stronger than this. Wow. This has, in my opinion, so many more things working together, singing like a choir, chorus, and it's just, there's nothing that stands out to me that's really weak. And you overcome things, you move us around with it. We come into here, the drama of all this coming into here, and as we spiral around, I really appreciated in the background how you got very soft with details, the purple mountains way back there, the quality of light coming underneath, overall composition placement, you know, whether you're thinking of the rule of thirds, you know, or you're using the golden means, you're placing things around nicely. Personally, I would say there are some strong elements. This you did beautifully without overdoing it. You get a sense of distance and the impression of that with the light. Same with the tree. For me, I'm not as crazy about the fence. And that's what I would compare that to other pieces. But that's why I would choose this one.
What can I ask questions?
Probably quick one, yeah.
Okay, so the consistency wise, do you think this is consistent? Like that is one of the things you were saying. And I struggle with, you know, sometimes I let go, so.
Just remember, you know, I'm looking at this head, I'm
Yes.
looking at every mark and the eye, it's beautiful, ears, then I'm looking at the paw and then the fur on the lion itself. With paws pretty much at the same spatial depth. So I think just put a little more information in the forearms and the paws, and then directly underneath or in front of the man, because that face is so detailed. It's like the rest of it needs to be brought up. That's just my opinion. You're welcome.
Not encourage the questions because, we have already. So next one, quickly.
Next one.
Are we going in order?
Ah. I knew this one was gonna be a tough one. That's why I was standing over there for a while. There's this technique, the style that you're using, especially here on this painting, on this side, it's a very contemporary approach. And I'm seeing a lot of artists who are using textures, patterns, enhanced color, almost an expressionistic way of using color on flesh and everything else, but still retaining strong representational realism. And there's a particular artist who teaches over at, she's a full-time professor at West Valley College, Heidi Bruckner, who's doing some extraordinary pieces like this, life-size figures, and they're very mixed media. So I highly recommend look at Heidi Bruckner. Of these two, I see elements of fluidity, color, metaphors, your ideas coming through, the expressions, creating this really wonderful kind of traditional triangular composition that moves very well. And then the movement of color and this diagonal sense of movement, even the cadence and the positioning of these areas here, creating almost a circular, this wonderful sense of movement in this. I think this face is so engaging. It's so convincing, so well done. The positioning of everything works well. So that's what I first saw in them. And then, you know, the birds and all the other elements. For me, I thought this element and these other things were stronger than the finish on these two figures. And I felt stronger about this figure and then this one. This one, not as much. On this painting over here, I see a lot of consistency. I felt a little concerned with so much important information so low towards the bottom. And the proximity of the seated to the edge, all of this, in my opinion, a little bit higher design-wise. So I probably would have chose this one for overall design, flow, and consistency. But they both have qualities that are very good.
Used a lot of symbols in this one. This is from a photograph of my mother and my grandmother. So this is from two different series that I'm working on. This is on the pioneers, one of the pioneer series that I'm doing. So this is, I wanted to bring out all those elements, you know, these colors also are the colors of the flag and stuff. So I hope anybody, when they look at it, I mean, I just wanted to know, like, did you get a sense of anything historical or anything with somebody who's watching?
Yes, I got a sense of the visual metaphors that you use and their importance, and that adds to the work. And remember, most judges, they're not going to know. You know, if you're judging, say, in the old days, those civic scribes, a calligraphy group in Northern California, and I told the group, I'm not reading per se. I'm looking at the design elements. I'm looking at the placement, the consistency. Because if you're using certain verses from biblical or religious scriptures, I don't want to get in trouble by rejecting a piece, you know, as talking about our salvation. I can't go into that. This is a picture of your mom. That's nice. That's sweet. Nothing personal. Can't look at it that way.
Thank you.
That was going to be a challenge, I knew. I didn't know until right then which of the two I was going to choose. I would choose this one. Just to kind of cut to the chase for you. The handling, the freshness, color, technique throughout. Yes, okay. I like what you did though. I like how you brought this as the center line. Not that that's important. Don't let it judge us. They may be art historians, they may be art writers, they may have taken museum study courses and they got their master's degree, but they have nothing to do with the studio. At least the art historian can draw upon different traditions and movements of art to compare. Now, if you happen to be like my wife and I, we're both studio artists, but we're also art historians. And it just gives us a wealth to draw from. So, decision you made, a lot of artists, I know this scene, and they'll load everything over here, and then this point will be over here, and nothing over there. If you looked at it in black and white, the value, all the muscle, all the weight is on that side, and the painting would just go like this. You balance out the weight somehow with something. And I think you've done that with a lot of the underpainting. You allow that to come through some of this kind of fuchsia-ish red. It's a nice touch. But these little elements here, the breakings of the water, no tide, but bringing some of these darks over here really help to balance so much visual weight over there. I was glad to see that you left enough space from the top. Let it breathe. Your consistency is good. From foreground, midground, background, you didn't suddenly have super detail in there, which would make it unfortunate. Panoramic landscape format is a good idea. Your brush stroking is very fresh and confident. This one over here, I see some wonderful things going on. Anytime you're going to try to paint macros, I think you did a really good job. I immediately, there are certain things with drawing that I'm always going to look for. And sometimes it can be the angle of the ellipsis. And if something is just a little off, especially when you're doing such beautiful detail work, maybe that vase actually looks like that. I don't know. But I would say most judges would feel uncomfortable with that. That's enough to say, okay, the ellipse angle is off, and the color richness is not as confident, is not as mature and fresh and flowing like this one. So I would choose this one. Remember, when you're judging, sometimes, and I will say this when I rate you, I would have chose your piece in another show. Because the venue was bigger, I could include another 100. But the space is smaller, or they asked me to choose fewer. You don't know if you're in the running or not. All you get is in or not in. But if you can ask the judge, find out. We remember. And I'll tell you, you were one of the last 12 pieces I felt could have been in the show. I felt strong about it. I would choose this one on the right. First, overall composition, your texture, all the elements are working together beautifully. It's the realism, but the abstraction quality, I think it's a really good partnership. I rarely see it so cohesive, so symbiotic and working in harmony. Yeah, usually I see the struggle of trying to mix the two together, oil and water. But I believe you've done a really good job. And a lot of it, to me, is your composition, your design, what we call the substructure underneath. Underneath the bowls, the representational elements, is the overall composition and how you set this up. It doesn't look mechanical, it doesn't look forced, it doesn't look like a formula. There was a fluidity to it. And a big part of it is the color that not only moves us around laterally, but also sense of depth you created with the values. You have some colors that come out and others that pull back, and then suddenly you have area that just hold us. It's a lot going on, but you say it. You pull it all together in a nice way. So like as a conductor, you pull it together and suddenly you have a unique, interesting, unique kind of creative element. This one, I find that you will find judges and you'll find artists, when they talk about an artist's work, they'll say, I really like this part here. Oh, did you see this? I like this. When you find people talking about your work in parts rather than in the whole thing together, that's a hard thing to do. I'm sure there's a wonderful story here. And then, the two birds. It's a quieter piece, even though the colors are rich. And it starts to take you someplace. But next to it, in my opinion, is a strong work that's a springboard to wherever you want to go, your experience. That's a challenge sometimes. You'll find people reading your statements, reading your title. I wonder what he or she is trying to say. What's this piece about? Rather than looking at a work and just, they don't have to read what you wrote. They already feel something. They know that. That's a hard thing to achieve. I think you achieve with that one. Thank you. This one is a good piece. And the symbology, the tree, the hope, it's a very positive piece.
It has a story like he's trying to say that you give me the peacock feather, she wants to put it on his turban, and she's refusing to give it to him because that's Krishna, and normally he has a peacock feather on his head. So that's what I was trying to show.
But these are both well done. I still that one over there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll take it. Curious. Think about when I say this is the one I'm going to choose. Think about what you would choose. I think both of these are well done. I think a lot of things I said about the last artist, I could say about this one too. There's a wonderful sense of mystery with this figure in the pause, in the color usage only on the vest. You remember the movie by Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List, black and white film. And in it, there's a little girl with a little red vest. Some other artists, directors, have done the same thing. Francis Ford Coppola and another movie where they were fighting witches. And that was the only thing in color, in the mold. Everything else was black and white. I had that same sensation with this when I saw it. And the pause of this figure, stopping, looking, waiting maybe, and everything else going on. But if I had to choose between these two, you have done some extraordinary detail work over there without it being just, I've seen judges go, oh, okay. So this person spent months wearing special glasses, detailed. Okay, I'll give them that, but it's just too dry. There's no sense of mystery. If this figure had been looking out at the viewer, it may not have been as interesting. It might have looked like a beautiful colored photograph by a photographer in a National Geographic. But the mystery of this person looking past you, and this kind of coming at you with a hint of color, sense of mystery, overall composition, atmosphere, mood, in that moment. Both are in the moment, very Baroque period. But this is much more engaging. And it's uncomfortable because we are so close This we are disengaged. And the beauty of Baroque art versus the High Renaissance. This High Renaissance would be this, really well done. Tell a story from the back. Baroque puts us up close in the picture plane in that moment. And in this moment, maybe this person suddenly looks at me. Makes me uncomfortable. Makes me want to be too close. But your handle is excellent. So I choose. How many people voted for that one? You're all right. Everybody gets an A. Really, this group has some extraordinary skill. You look around, you push each other. I think that's what's great about Falc. Yes. I've seen your work when I did University Art, didn't I? I gave you awards, didn't I? And the ones that gave you awards were deserving.
Thank you. I intentionally chose pieces that you haven't seen yet. Or that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that was at the museum. So you would have seen it.
There's an artist I highly recommend. She's a colleague, I can't say we're friends, maybe someday. Anne Murphy Robinson, Sacramento. She has influenced so many young artists like Julie Grants. Who recently had a training in the art show. Julie is a former student of mine, but she learned so much from Anne Murphy Robinson. And yet Anne Murphy hasn't, in my opinion, received the type of recognition she deserves. But her work in graphite and charcoal is extraordinary, and it's filled with mystery and intrigue. You could look at her work forever and find something new. And it's all coming from an honest place in her life. You want to see something very depressed? Well, that's really coming from you. You want to see hope? That's also coming from you. But she stages things beautifully. Her work is extraordinary. And the reason I bring her up is because I think if you keep doing what you're doing and what I've seen, there's no reason why you can't be in that same conversation. But it's up to you whether you want to go there. So, with that being said, things like this ear, it's nicely done, it's soft, but you gotta finish this ear off as tight as you do here and on the fingers. This is the kind of thing that, because I see the hair, I see how beautiful, just look, all of this stuff. Finish that ear off. And remember on your one piece, I could blow a little bit of that ear on the dark. See, I remember. There's some things I can't do. I cannot put a text to my email. I can't figure certain things out. Listen, my picture's gone from Zoom. It was just click it over. There are things I can't do. And I see you short. My whole goal is to help you just get it up there. And that's what they're going to look for. Now remember, when we can see it blind, it's one thing. But when you squint your eyes and look for values, look, edges. Edges is so important. The edging, like right in this area here, everything it shows it's formed beautifully without being too strong. It's a little softer over here, but it still works. This right here is good. But right in here, the values get too close together. And or right here. Got to bring a little bit more. Especially when you bring this. And this is what I mean. People, I mentioned this to Denise earlier, that piece of hers is just extraordinary. There's not a single part on it. Is that important? Yes. If you're going to dance a certain style, then you better dance it that way. Don't interpret. You set the stage, the judge rises to the occasion. An extraordinary work. We love it. God, look at this. Oh, what happened? And then once you see it, once I point out, other judges say, I wish you wouldn't have said it. Now that I see it, I just thought it's not as strong as the other one. And we're going to have to explain. So when you do this, and you got this quality of light, warm, and beautiful back here. Then I am comparing you to extraordinary out there. And you see their work, and you're there. Just create a little more separation, punch it up a little bit more, you know. Even though this is really well done, I love the mystery, the shadow is extraordinary, and the little folds, overall composition. But I would choose this one of the two, even though I pointed out that this still to me is strong. I hope that helps. I love doing this. I love sharing with you what I see. It doesn't mean you have to agree, but now remember, you may have a purpose for doing something, and it's your right, and you are right. But if others can't pick up on it and understand or read it, then you need to make your voice stronger. Help people, especially in a competition. This is a tough one. This one I think going back, your light is also extraordinary, especially over here. When you do this, you are setting yourself up for so much difficulty and failure. Because most people, this area over here, they would be too cold and too neutral. But no, you have, you glazed on, what do I call it? Just enough color, not over the top. You kept it very natural. Your choice of green back in here, very rich and full. I love how you use complementary colors in proximity of one another, but also in a sense of creating visual bridges. You know, some of these beautiful blue here. Which blue is this? Is this kind of a royal blue, cobalt blue?
Right.
Yeah,
Actually,
nice choice.
Yeah.
You know, ultramarine blue is beautiful in the right situation, but it is such a powerful, cool color. It wants to come forward and dominate. And it's so hard. If you don't tame it, if you don't manipulate it, it can be, just doesn't work. I wish more people would consider the cobalt blues, royal blues, Prussian blues, and it goes so well with the green that you chose back here. But your sky is extraordinary, especially all of the horizon. This rises up still, not too much detail, everything's very convincing here. Have compositionally, having the bolts like this, love the rhythm of this. Take credit when people say, oh, so you must have seen Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. Are you a musician? Just say yes. because I'll say the heads of the musicians and hands, when you put into a measure music, they are actually notes. And it's beautiful music. God, he was phenomenal. Major probably ADD, but phenomenal in his thinking. Think about the rhythms of this, and then these accents. These accents are even this little ding bell or cowbell in the rock and roll. And punctuate a sense of movement and rhythm, but keep this from being just separated, boring. The warm family colors up here and some of this greenish family into the red family, because this could have been just too much blue green. And then this, I think it works really well together. Very daring to have that pole right to the edge. But everything else is so strong, we don't really notice it. I might, in case it was in a tie with another piece. But I think top to bottom, left to right, you've made a moment that doesn't have a lot of drama, but you've made that simple moment work very well. Wonderful mood in atmosphere. The one next to it, you see, for me, that's why I think the blue sky can be challenging. That blue and going into the blue green and slowly into the yellow green. For me, I love what's happening right here. I think that's really strong. I think your sky on this piece is even stronger. The choice of varying the blue works very well. This for me, this particular blue and the texture of it, it's a little strong. And it's kind of, for me, describing a backup singer that's trying to upstage the main singer. And you know, I can guarantee Taylor Swift will go, hey, I'm the star. You know, turn down that mic, you know. This is so beautiful, this is so quiet, this moment, serene. Excellent, this shape here, bridging from this part of the kind of composition through the middle into the top. Maybe take it a little further, make it a little bit more obvious. That's what an Edward Hopper or a Winslow Homer, two American painters, would do, is they would create something that, and Andrew Wyeth would do this now and then too. They would put a red something, yeah, it might have been red, but they dial up the intensity. And that helped hold you composition on purpose. So I think this is excellent, but maybe be bolder about it. Maybe bring some of this red over there. Create a visual bridge, kind of a triangle. I think this compositionally, in many ways, is stronger than that. But there are elements, the water, the reflection of the sky, it's wonderful. Your drawing of the lily pads on the surface and below, the boat itself, excellent handling. For me, the sky, and this part here, is not as extraordinary as that. And so that's kind of what I see.
Thank you so much.
John, it's yours.
I love the way she looked over at me. This one's a tough. This is one of those, I tell Kristen, okay, let's have dinner now. I want to take a break. Because I want to come back with fresh eyes. And this one's tough. To me, they're both really strong. I can see judges being torn between the two. The show's big enough, I can see both getting in easily. I haven't said that tonight yet. Easily both could get in. Which would I choose? The one on the right. The way the textures and patterns, the relationship of colors, the values of their colors and their relationships to one another. Color theory, excellent. Overall composition, also very excellent. This is very, to me, successful abstract painting because of the relationship. There is no positive, negative. It is working together. And yet, because of the color of what kind of foods?
Pomegranates.
Because the pomegranates are very convincing in shape, form, and color. And just the uniqueness of the shape, the boldness of these three lined up, and then the bigger one, lower center, the tip of it pointing outwards towards the right there. Then as I squint my eyes, and I see, just as in your painting, the one I talked about, the abstract one, where you had the substructure underneath a little bit of white bands. That really held in all the energy and created the foundation for the rest of the painting, I think, to kind of be painted on top. I see the same thing with those strings of paper that actually kind of work as like a netting that holds very fragile. And then I saw the writing, and I just saw the different mark making. To take that much time in detail and do it so well, without it seeming like you're showing, look what I can do, look at this technique, so superb. And quite often when that happens, it's almost like a smoke screen, or to kind of distract you from seeing the rest of it. You'll see a painting that's a beautiful reflection glass mirror of crystal glasses that are carved in, and there's reflection, and that's extraordinary painting. And you keep looking and you keep looking and you get past all that smoke screen and you go, but the ellipse is off on a couple of them. And then all of a sudden the other judges see it too and they go, why would they mess up like that? The color is extraordinary though. Yes, but a couple of minutes ago, I was considering it as the best to show. Now I'll give it an award, but not best to show and not first place. Wow, it dropped that much. In realism, the drawing is important. Getting it correct is important. If you can't see it, ask somebody else to look at it. Draw it naturally, use a grid. If you're using a projector, make sure your projector is at the right angle. We see it. I think they're both so well done. But that one, for me, really pops up. This bird, the bird head and the feathers and in the background, for me, I know it's a close-up, but I don't quite get that separation of space as much. And the detail is strong, but I think you go into this other one, bolder, stronger with your values and contrast, and it just moves around beautiful. Even though it's realistic, very strong realism, there's a strong abstract quality to it. And I just feel that a lot of judges are going to lean that way. So I would choose the game.
Not to talk about this, I cannot compete with the pencil office here.
Nadia and I met years ago at the Los Gatos Art Association, this very same format. And everybody was telling me about Hadi. And then he showed up towards the end, so he was one of the last ones. And I had looking at his paintings over and over again. And I told him the good things first, because they were strong, beautiful drawings, everything. And then I had my honest conversation with him. Afterwards, Hadi came up, shook my hand, and he goes, you know, I'm going to think about that. And I said, you are so close. You are so close to bringing it all together. And he's been on an extraordinary ride ever since. And I like both paintings for different reasons. Overall, I love the perspective of looking down on this everyday scene, having a lunch, you know, Pringles, couple noodles, and a burrito. The overall lighting of it, you know, just taking that everyday genre style and not over romanticizing it. It's just a moment of time, real time. But even Hadi, when I saw it online, and I do this, I'll see something, you post something, and it's important. Post your strong work. Okay, but first impressions are very important. Curators are looking all the time online. They just never will respond to a like, because if they do, they know that thousands of people start sending them requests, so they have to stay in the background. But when you post something, I get it on my big screen. I use my wife's big. Beautiful. I'm gonna blow it up. Hadi, there's so many things I said about this one that I like, but there's some perspective things on that Pringle case. That thing, because I eat Pringles. There's just something a little off on that one. Is that important? Not really, but I mean, Hadi's, you know, going after national awards and international shows. And if I'm judging, I spot that. It's like, Hadi, you know. But even that being said, you're very good at color harmonies. You're good at complementary colors. So you know, you got your blue family, the yellowish orange family, the green and the red family. there's some interesting dynamics to it, but for me, there's just a couple of things that just needs a little bit more, just more punch to it. The one next to it, I think you have more things just working very well, given so much detail. If the flowers in the foreground, the beautiful red flowers and the green leaves, if they weren't so well done, it would be a challenge.
This, actually, when I took this picture, my focus was on the other side of the water. So I don't have much details on the flower, because my focus was. Yeah.
And that a lot of people do. Okay, so I'm judging with some other judges. I would say, oh no, I know that his camera was focused on that. That's when I mean you got to make it obvious. You almost have to blur it out a little bit more to show us that camera reality. Because if it's a natural eye reality, what's in our foreground is going to be richer, crisper, more detailed, and which you could do that with this honey because it's almost there. If you wanted to kind of reverse course, this is finished off so beautifully. All of this back here, again, we're talking about, I don't know, 30 yards, maybe, at least, and then these back trees, atmospheric right here in the far background, softer values. The shadows merge right into the middle values. Everything's middle value back here, as it should be with distance. And then as we get to the pine tree, oh no, coconut tree, pineapple tree, what is it, coconut tree? The detail you have here within the flowers, all of this, that crispness of red, either just my thoughts, make this more apparent that the focus is back there, or take what you have there, go darker darks, more detail, and you can finish this off so that this becomes the foreground. And then we go into this beautiful, because it's soft, that softness of value almost is too closely aligned to the values of the one. We're back here, from here up, it really is strong and it's very consistent. I just think right here, there's not enough separation. So either softer or tighter, more contrast, otherwise more contrast. Because this is strong, especially when you see this here. This is starting to create some separation. And it can be a wonderful barrier because, I mean, when you look at this, there are kind of barriers. You've got these roses, and they're going to be thorns and flowers. You have another visual metaphor barrier of water. And then past the water, you have this little gate. I mean, it's a baby little gate, but it's a gate nonetheless. And it creates these layers of separation, these borders. Like this, as understated as it is, it has that really good time of season, temperature, weather quality. And it supports the lack of strong shadows from a very bright day. And so this type of, it's kind of dated right on the eyes, and you're going to get your highlights, but the shadows aren't going to be very evident. I think it works really well, but I would choose this one. This one was a tough one because I thought both of these were strong, but I keep coming back to the one that he's carrying on the right, the two telephones. Compositionally, I think the one on the left is really, again, very Baroque. We feel like we're in the room, sense of mystery. The quality of light coming through that window is so brilliant and bright, and it causes the shadows coming from the small bed and everywhere else to work very well. A very nice circular type of overall composition and design. But as with Denise's work, you see the quality of here, but everything has to be taken to that level of texture, of whatever time it takes So when you do that, then you set yourself up, well, if this has so much detail, then this has to be exceptional. It has to be very convincing. You just, because our mind will tell us, that's close enough. But a judge should be fresh enough to say, okay, no, if you're going to give me this, and this is further back, then if it's closer to me, I want to see the tag coming off the mattress. Do not cut off kind of thing. This also creates a nice color harmony bridge. Even down in here. Denise, that was good. If you hadn't brought some of this color down into here, this could have looked really just no life. Not that there's life, but by adding some of this visual bridge color, it connects to this. And it just takes us up on, you get pieces like this really takes us up there. I wanted to address that one first. And the presentation is very good. It's very easy for a judge to see on a neutral gray. Judges love neutral gray, neutral white, warm white, oyster, that kind of color, versus a blue white, which can be too light. Whenever you can afford it, go to a bigger mat. If you have the mat, give your work a lot of space to breathe. Don't let the judge see the edge of the frame. Again, they're tired after looking at hundreds of pieces. They'll see the frame and they'll see the mat. So avoid the color liner. Now, when you sell it or hang it in your home, do whatever you want. Collector wants all those different accents. They're only looking at that piece. But a judge seeing a piece like this and when it had a bright red liner there, it creates a visual tension. The judge is working even harder to try to not see that. And usually digitally, you don't see that. This to me is just executed and composed so well. I could see this being in many shows, winning awards easily. And if not winning awards, being in the running and consideration. And that's just. You know, when you're doing work to this level, I hope you'll consider the, and it's not cheap, the annual ARC.
Oh, yeah.
ARC.
I've had work in it before.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, see, that's a hard thing. ARC, A-R-C.
Art Renewal Center.
It's an extraordinary international competition. People get into that and then don't get into something like the DIA. Okay, that's one thing. But then they might try a local show and not get it. It's like, what? This makes no sense. This was just an ARC. And again, you just don't know the individual who is the judge, what they're leaning to, what may affect them. Your work affects a judge no matter what. And you don't know how it triggers something in them. Bad memories of maybe a parent punishing them with the end of a phone like that. You hope that judges can be neutral, but we're human. You know, there's just certain things. I can see something, I just don't get it. It's just really well done, but I just don't get it. Look at it in a different way. What is there? Look at the overall handle. Look at the drama of it. Look at the presence. Compositionally, you know, we talk about symmetrical, asymmetrical. Asymmetrically, everything's working. Even if they weren't phones, if they were just shapes, and then the wires themselves moving around, connecting, going off the picture plane into the picture plane, the shadows, how beautifully rendered they are, and where you need it to be tight, you're tight. And every part, I went through every 16th of an inch, just looking for a mistake, kind of like the DMV test driver. You know, that was a terrible parking. But that's how I like to challenge myself. And when I see a work that works like this one, no question. Anytime I'm a judge, I hope you enter that. And I hope many of you, I won't forget. I will stand by what I share with you tonight. It's not one of those things that No, tonight I feel this way, tomorrow I don't know. I still bring the same criteria. I still look at your work the same way. So if I see your piece in an international or national composition and that ear still looks the same, I'm sorry, it's gonna bother me even more. If it was the first time I saw it, that's one thing. And I had an artist that happened to, came to an open critique like this. It was a beautiful piece. And the shadows were off. Some didn't have shadows. I said, the cactus look like they're floating. You know, people had a good laugh. I wasn't trying to embarrass. There was a major competition. Other judges, judge got sick. They asked me to come in, and there was a painting. And there was the floating cactus. They're like, got it? Gave you a warning. I'm sure. Oh no, George is judging us. And the other judge, I really like this. Yeah, but yet, this is an interesting kind of science fiction painting. What do you mean by that? It's an outdoor desert scene, which is beautiful. The colors are very warm. Yeah, but it must have two suns. One of the judges said, "Oh, yeah. How come there's shadows going two different directions?" And it wasn't like subtle. It was like shadows going this and one going this way in the middle of the day. Oh boy. Really well done. Really clean, but I think in the handling, in how you limited your color palette, I think it just brings us back to kind of like another time as well, without over romanticizing. I think it really works very well. It's just I've been following your work for a long time, and this one is going to get you, I think, in a lot of good shows.
What I was attracted to about the subject and what I was trying to really bring into the drawing was the lighting was so dramatic. It kind of gave this sort of melancholy, a little bit of anticipation. You don't know what's going to happen with these phones. Are they gonna ring? What's going to be on the other end of the line? What's the news you're going to get? And so I called it waiting, because you don't know what's gonna.
It makes people uncomfortable. Could you put it there? We're standing there in front of these phones.
You're standing right in
It's like,
front of them.
so what am I doing here?
Yeah, yeah,
And if it rings, what do I do?
yeah,
It's like, you figure, I know you're standing there putting the phone.
yeah,
It adds that tension.
exactly. That's what I was aiming for.
Yeah, yeah. They ate both pills.
All right, thank you.
What? I'm sorry, I got into all these other things. It's just that there's so much I feel I want to share with you. So that you go into this new year full of excitement and encouraged to enter as many competitions as possible. The Triton Salon is coming up. Triton Museum of Art. Do that, you know, and that's how you can earn a one-person show, as Hockey did. I had the pleasure of watching both of these develop, and other artists as well. Two different subject matters, but very consistent in the handling of both. Different approach. And again, kind of in one style. The one on the right, I think of like an American tradition of romantic realism in the style of Grant Wood and others that would capture American landscape in almost a kind of like telescopic kind of optical feel, where you get a sense of different hills. You got the home or the barn, you got cows grazing, you get the sense of shape of the mountain, the topography of everything, the clouds, the sky, all these different elements, and they work really well. Now for me, just to kind of be, you know, since I've been really straightforward with all of you, the lower left-hand corner, just a few flowers that are popping up. For me, I'd probably like to see them a little bit more detailed and finished off, because as we go down that path, there's the little road, and then the fence is so detailed, the cows are really detailed, and the house and all those things. So in the foreground, lower left-hand corner, I would finish that up a little stronger. Now, when you do that, you might find that now suddenly, you're gonna be a little heavy on the left side because of all this information. So, you know, some other element you put over here, and this is a good idea, a very good solution that many artists would use. Again, the complementary color of so much green would be something in the red family. So, yeah, maybe something over here that would be just a little hint of red than Edward Hopper again, or Winslow or would use. So which of these two would I choose? That's a tough one. I think both are really well done. But you see, that would be the reason I would choose this. They're so close, but this one has everything working so well. And you know, the detail of the foreground, I might like to see just a little bit more shadow presence because of the quality of light, a little more shadow on the ground. You have it there. Yeah, it's really hard because blue is a cool color. Should stay back, but it doesn't. But it's coming up slowly. This is so well done. This grouping into this compositionally and these other elements. I think I would lean to this one. Well done. You know, I'm not gonna be able to sleep. I get so wound up, my wife. Yeah. Oh, okay. This is yours? Let me ask you this, I haven't asked anybody, which is your favorite? Which one? This one? I agree. That's really well done too. This, the color. Okay, what could I recommend? You've got this here, reflected color, beautiful, this feel of this, but on the basket. That needs just a little bit more, not just detail, because you got some good texture, but I would add some more. Because it's so close to us and you got some good tip, you know, Megan, when you do this, and this is closer to us, so not so much in the highlight. You know, you're going with strong light, it's gonna wash it out. But in the darker areas, push a little more dark, especially under each kind of like strand. Reflected color is good, but the value range here doesn't change enough, in my opinion, for the shape and the light we create. Especially when this is so strong, this needs to be a little bit more. So more darks. Again, detail is good, but underneath here, underneath the basket, a little more stronger shadow because the light is so strong. And if there's any color that you can put from these tomatoes, maybe. Have it bounce on some of these neutral areas, well, as you have some other parts. This is nice. I like how you've done that. That's excellent. To have just little variations. Maybe with this reddish orange, maybe right back in there, in the darkest part. Try, just consider it, maybe a dark red with that green, so it still stays green, but it's got a little bit of this reddish glaze, and that will kind of connect the two nicely. It's a thought, but this is really well done. By going to the darker shadow there, perhaps maybe judges, I am never thrilled too much when you pinch visual information like that. Because it's like this part here, it's like you know, 101 highway, lunchtime. All the lanes along, and around 33 flat. And that I used to do that, and my professor would say, George, you know, you got the top two, leave some space here so the negative space flows around. You get like that, and it just feels like it's forced in there. So maybe like one over darker or this shadow here, it will pick us up. Because this is so strong. This is an excellent idea. Push some of the darks a little more because the lights are so bright. And then put color into the darks. I think this will really pop. You'll see a difference. Each one you go, oh, yes, yes. Send me an email. Look, it's better.
Yeah, can I ask you? This, can I add some more elements to?
No, you could. You could. I think it will be forced. That's a hard, one. You have good things going on. Excellent plants, the water, the sparkle. It would be very challenging to add something. If you can make it work, I would love to see it.
Can I say one thing
Oh, yeah.
on that one? Well, sometimes the best thing to do is to cover up different parts of your painting and try eliminating rather than always adding. I would do that and see, maybe because you have something in each of the four centers. Maybe you can
Yeah,
find-
it does pull it out here. Very, maybe very the green itself would help separate something. There's already so much going on. I believe you could do something. My general sense just says it could get very busy, very crowded. It's working so hard to try to succeed, where this is fluid, fresh, and flows, and this will always stand out. You could eliminate, but I just, sometimes that shot just doesn't work as well as some of them. Nothing wrong with it. And sometimes people say, which one was I painting? And wrong with me. It's really well done. But it just, I know, it's not this one. This one is, that's what's gonna stand out. And on your website, this is the one I would put. I wouldn't put that one.
Thank you. Same page, okay? I work is very different.
Oh, cheap.
So I do. Look, I. They're all done in watercolor.
I think there are a lot of judges that would see the complexity of this, these two pieces, and the consistency of handling and technique. It's very clean. I think judges would recognize right away the skill level. The overall vision for composing and designing something so complex, but in a way that's all unified. I mean, it really is stunning, it's arresting. So which piece would I think, I don't know what other judges choose, I think I would see 50-50. Me, I lean to this one. It has everything that this has. Tells a story, but I like the construction and composition, I like the drama, the action on this one. This one's not boring. And it's something I tell my students all the time, you can have extraordinary technique, but is it boring? It could be that, it could be extraordinary, but it's just like, that. And I feel that way. This isn't boring. It's really well done. This one, there's just so many things about it. It's storytelling, plus, and it engages the viewer to interpret in a way. Sometimes, as in music, a pause, quiet, space is important. Sometimes it's too much. It's just, you need great literature, poetry, anything you've read. The author will break up the chapter's cadence. And that's important in music, the importance of that spacing. And I believe you have that in the right one. As far as technique, there's nothing I can add or say. You've got it. Well done.
No, because that is a very different, it's a style.
Yes,
It's a different style. This is my composition, my style, which I have created.
this is you, and this is what people want to know. This is what galleries will want to know, and this is what curators want to know. They will respect the style, it's like, okay, but what's your interpretation?
That's-
This is it?
Apologies for the framing, so I will be framing.
Remember I talked about drama,
Yeah.
not boring. Using your media to its fullest. Values, contrast, textures, patterns, being engaging, putting us in the moment, we feel the action. This one. The overall framing and all this white, it's okay, I can give that. This, it's exciting, it's dynamic. A lot of people, this one photography. Can take something simple, a moment, and make it real. Real moment, nothing's changed. No backroom manipulation. This is just your eye, and you caught that moment beautifully. And the composition, just wow, there's just so much that's working. The timing to get this netting again to bridge the beautiful texture and shape of this over this band of humanity into the sky. The art of this and the beautiful lines and textures of action. Yeah, this one's really strong. This would be something I'd probably would consider for, an award category. Which, I'm sorry, you just, if these two were kids, they'd be like, I'm sorry that your brother or your sister. What value, we'll find out. I like it. Oh, this is fun. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Seeing some information and sharing. I know to hear somebody's input. Remember, it's just one opinion. And I do hope, I see your work in the future competitions. And if I am a judge and you enter and you have questions or even just send me a picture of your work. I'd be happy to share with you. And I hope some of you will take my advice on pursuing some of these competitions. You're ready. Both of you are ready and others. Make 2024, the best year again. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
My treasurer will contact you.
No, no, contribution back. Please.
What? No, please.
No, my wife and I, it's been our pleasure, our honor. Please use it to buy some more screens.
Oh.
Okay.
I always wanted to see you in person.
We have group photo.
Oh, yes, I think a group photo.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put this back. So I'll stop the Zoom.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, leave.